Look at it, it's beautiful. This is a Kodak Retinette 1B. It's the first model of the 1B, you can tell because it's got the rising script Retinette name on it. This was produced by, or should I say for, Kodak in Germany. It's a German manufactured camera, and I'm sure that it was commissioned by Kodak rather than manufactured by Kodak. It's a 35mm viewfinder compact. It is not a rangefinder camera, it's a viewfinder camera. And you've got a little viewfinder hole on the back there. It's not as bad as some, I've got to say. I can see the full frame without rubbing my eyelashes up against the back of the camera. It's lovely. The camera has a built-in selenium cell meter. I'm not sure if it's still working. We'll find out. The rest of it mechanically is perfect. The shutter speeds all seem to be working at the right speed. The aperture has nice clean clicks, and I checked before I put a film in that the aperture was actually closing down to what looked like the right values. And it is a manual focus, and because it's not rangefinder, of course you will have to use guesstimation, but also it has on the front here a depth of field indicator. So if you say, for example, set infinity to the mark on that side, it will tell you that everything from 15 foot to infinity is in focus. I've been looking at an old Kodak manual, and it tells you that that's how the depth of field scale works, but it also points out that it works at f4. It doesn't show you different values on here. It's a depth of field indicator for f4. So of course we have to calculate that the depth of field will be greater at smaller apertures than f4 and less at apertures less than f4, which is quite funny really, because the sort of people that this camera was aimed at would not be accustomed to making those sort of calculations. This was a lower cost version of the Retina camera. The Retinette was more aimed at the consumer market, for families to take family shots, holiday shots and things like that. Having said that, the lens on it, on this it's a rod and stock Realmar 45mm f2.8 lens. On the earlier ones it was a Realmar lens, but it was manufactured by Schneider, which makes me think that the Realmar was possibly a Kodak design but contracted out to lens manufacturers, and the Realmar is actually a Kodak trademark. So I'd like to show the inside, but not thinking about this video, I loaded it up with Kentmere 400 last night with the intention of going out today and taking some photographs, which the weather's looking quite nice, so we'll be doing that. There is, in all this beautiful engineering, there's one thing that lets it down. The wind-on handle, which is on the bottom, is actually made of plastic, and it's not very thick, it's not very sturdy, and apparently it's the thing that does break on these cameras, which is a shame. But the rest of it is beautifully engineered. What a lovely camera this is. I've taken photographs with it in the past, with colour film. I've never taken black and white photos with this camera. The colour film shots that I took I really liked, and I'll probably show you some of those towards the end of the video. But black and white will tell me whether or not this camera is a good one, because there's no colour to hide behind. Right, let's get to it. Let's go out and get some photographs, and you'll be seeing them now. First of all, an apology if I sound a bit croaky, but we had our COVID booster jabs last week and I'm suffering from some of the symptoms. Must be my antibodies working overtime. Back to the camera. Did I mention how much I like this camera? It worked perfectly. The light meter works, but I would think it is overreading by about 2 stops. So if I set the camera to what the light meter says, I'm going to be about 2 stops underexposed. So I used a mixture of my phone app light meter and Sony 16s. I've also haven't used Kentmere 400 for the first time. I think it's quite a grainy film, and it's great if your subject is fairly close up, but if it's distant, the detail tends to get a bit lost in the grain. So I think certainly on landscapes I would go for a finer grained film. Other than that, the film performed perfectly. The lens, the Ryoma, it's a 3-element coated lens, and that worked fine. And as you can see from the colour photos that are tacked on the end, it is quite attractive, the rendering. That film on the colour shots was Agfa Vista 200, which of course is no longer with us. It was great when you could get that for £1 from the pound shop. The next video I do, I might start looking at some lenses again, and we'll see how it goes with that. But that's the end of this video featuring the Kodak Retinette 1B. Lovely camera, nice and easy to use, and certainly one to stay within the collection. Thanks again, and we'll see you again soon.